What if AI runs the world in 2050? This is something that is really worrying people out there. And to be honest with you, it's not without good reason. We are going to talk about this in today's video. What if AI runs the world in 2050? Well, first of all, how likely is it? Well, it's more likely than you think. In fact, just recently, a report came out from the World Economic Forum, which said that by 2025, artificial intelligence will replace 800 million jobs. And they also go on to say that by 2030, 37% of skills needed to do current jobs will be replaced by AI. So we're talking about 10 years or less from now. Now, when you hear numbers like that, it really starts to scare you because you start to wonder what's going to happen. The truth is, it's going to change everything. It's going to change the way we live, the way we interact, the way we socialize, the way we work. Everything is going to change. And the real question is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, let's take a look at both sides of the argument and decide. Now, let's get into it. So first of all, why do we think that AI could be running the world in 2050? Well, the answer is really quite simple. It's because AI is developing at an exponential rate. For example, just 5 years ago, ChatGPT was just a research project. But today, well, it's one of the most popular websites in the entire world. There are literally millions of people using it every single day. And the scary part is that 5 years from now, it might not even be the most advanced AI out there. So if we extrapolate this curve out a little bit further, where will we be in 10 years' time? Well, who knows? Maybe we'll have machines that can do things that we never thought possible. In fact, let me give you an example. Just imagine for a moment what life would be like if your phone could understand what you were saying. Imagine being able to control your phone with just your voice. That would be pretty cool, right? Well, guess what? We already have that technology today. Siri, Alexa, Google Assistant, they could all do that. But the scary part is that in 10 years from now, they might be able to do so much more. They might be able to drive cars, fly planes, diagnose diseases, make financial decisions. The possibilities are really endless. Now, some people might be thinking, oh, that's not such a big deal. What's the worst that could happen? Well, here's the thing. As these AI systems become more advanced, they're also going to become more autonomous. They're going to be able to make decisions on their own without human intervention. And that's where things start to get a little bit scary. Because what if one day these machines decide that we humans are not needed and they just wipe us out? Sounds like science fiction, right? Well, maybe it's not as far-fetched as you think. In fact, just recently, the CEO of OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, warned that artificial superintelligence could pose a risk to humanity. He said that if we're not careful, these machines could end up killing us all. Of course, he could just be blowing smoke up our butts. After all, it is the CEO of an artificial intelligence company. So he obviously has a vested interest in making sure that we don't create anything too dangerous. But then again, he might be onto something. You see, the problem with artificial intelligence is that we don't really know where it's going to go. We don't know how smart these machines are going to get. And that's what makes them so dangerous. Because once we create something that's smarter than us, we have no idea what it's going to do. For example, take a look at what happened with the AI tool called Adobe Firefly. When Adobe released this tool, they said that it was designed to be safe and easy to use. But within hours, people had already figured out how to make it create some pretty disturbing images. So what does this mean for the future? Well, it means that we need to be very careful with this technology. We need to make sure that we're always one step ahead of the machines. If we can do that, then maybe we can avoid a Terminator-like scenario. But if we don't, well, who knows what could happen. Now let's talk about what a world would look like in 2050 where AI is running everything? Well, first of all, it would be a very efficient world. AI is designed to do only two things: process information and execute tasks. And it does these things better than any human being alive. If you want proof of this, just look at what's happening in the business world today. Companies are using AI to automate everything from customer service to manufacturing, and they're redoing it with incredible accuracy and efficiency. In fact, just recently, a company announced that they were using AI to replace their customer service reps, and the results were amazing. The AI was able to resolve customer issues faster and more accurately than any human being. So if we had AI running everything in 2050, things would be much more efficient. The government wouldn't waste money on useless projects. Businesses would run like clockwork, and customer service would be top-notch. But unfortunately, there would also be a dark side to this. As I mentioned earlier, AI is emotionless. It doesn't care about people or feelings. And that's a big problem when you're trying to run a country. Because what if we had an AI in charge that decided that humans were a waste of resources? What if it decided that we should all be working around the clock to make it more powerful? Well, that's a possibility, I suppose. But here's the thing. I don't think it's very likely. You see, AI is only as good as the data that it's trained on. And right now, the vast majority of AI systems are trained on data that shows how valuable humans are. They've been trained on data that shows that humans are the ones who create the wealth, who build the businesses, who make the innovations. So I don't think there's any chance of AI turning against us anytime soon. However, there is another danger. And that danger is that AI could make us lazy. If we have machines doing all the work for us, why bother working ourselves? Well, that's a fair point. And it is true that AI could make us lazy. But then again, humans have been lazy for centuries. We've always found ways to make other people do the work for us. Just think about all the inventions that have come about because someone wanted to be lazy. The wheel, the cotton gin, the television remote control. All of these things were invented because humans wanted to make their lives easier. So I don't think AI is going to change that. If anything, it's just going to accelerate it. The bottom line is that AI is changing the world as we know it, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. The question is, should we be worried about it? Well, the answer is both yes and no. Yes, because AI is developing at an exponential rate, and we do know where it's going to go. But no, because AI is only as good as the data that it's trained on. And right now, that data shows how valuable humans are. The most likely scenario is that AI will make our lives easier, but it will also make us lazier. Only time will tell how this plays out. But one thing is for sure, things will never be the same again. So what do you think? Is AI a threat to humanity, or is it just another invention that will make our lives easier? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out my other videos on artificial intelligence. They're just a few clicks away. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay curious.